Support for this program is provided by
The Women's Hospital delivers comprehensive health care to women and infants through inpatient and outpatient obstetrical, gynecologic, and education programs. The Women's Hospital, only at Deaconess.
additional support provided by Girling Law and Toyota Indiana.
So being more introverted, how do you think that people tend to perceive you?
Oh gosh, I'm shy, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm rambling, any one of those things really.
Sometimes it takes me a while to get to know certain people, but you know, if somebody I meet we have in common, then it's a little bit easier to interact.
Weird? Like I'm just like, ooh, what's that girl? What's she? What's her deal?
I don't think people should perceive me in a bad way. I think people perceive me just as quiet, and it just takes a while to get to know me. But then they love me after that.
If I don't know what to say to you, then I'm just gonna stand here awkwardly and just like hope that my talking companion is a little bit better at conversing than I am.
I put a lot of effort into what I'm going to say to someone. I actually do pay attention to what it is that they're saying, and it just takes me a little bit longer because I'm more thoughtful about my response to them because I actually care about what it is that they're saying to me. It just takes me a little bit more time, a little more introspective, and I think, okay, let's try to understand their position.
So we have this focus group that's called the Wisdom Council, and we get together every year and kind of focus on what we're going to talk about for the seasons. So I brought up this topic of introvert, extrovert, and kind of personality types. There was just a lot of chatter, and a lot of the subjects kind of just would go and die, but this one it seemed people were really picking up steam and people were bouncing off each other. And so why do you think that is? Why do people get excited about this topic?
I think because people really like to be known.
Okay.
And it starts with knowing yourself and understanding yourself. And so I think any topic that will help you with your self-awareness and shed light on, okay, this is who I am, this is my identity, this is the way I've been wired. I think people feel really freed and understood by that. And people naturally, they want to feel validated.
Yeah.
And understood. And they want to understand the people around them. They want to understand, okay, why are you different from me? And what can we do with those differences to understand each other better and work together better?
I was a pretty shy kid. I had one best friend probably across the street growing up, and then like a very small group of friends. I played imaginary friends and everything a lot, so I wasn't the most outgoing child. I had, I think, normal anxiety as a little kid. It wasn't until probably about 5th grade that I started noticing having a lot more anxiety than what I thought other kids were having around me.
When you met me for the first time, what was that like?
Well, it was twofold anxiety because I was running late. So that made it even worse. Like I was prepared to be like, I'm going to be at Starbucks like 20 minutes early so that I'm sitting down. So like I have the control power of the room. And of course, that didn't happen. So there was that anxiety because for me, one of the easiest way to interact with people is if I'm already there when they come in. So that was anxiety. And then it was the anxiety of I knew who you were and like we have kind of mutual friends, but we had never actually met. So I was like, okay, what are we going to do? Like I'll start with a handshake and it's so nice to meet you. And then you hugged me and that threw off my whole game. I was just like, oh, we're going in for a hug. Okay, reevaluate. I got this now.
I love being an extrovert. Like, I love it. I love being an extrovert. So when I go and speak somewhere, like if I'm gonna have like a speaking engagement and I'm talking to a group of people, like I get excited. It energizes me when I leave. I'm like, whoa! Like I feel on top of the world. Like that gives me energy. I love bebopping around and talking to people and having relationships and getting to know people and that is so fun for me. I just enjoy it. I enjoy it tremendously. And I'll never forget when James and I first started dating. We were just like sitting somewhere and I was telling him a story and I was using my hands and all this stuff. And he was like, "This is better than TV." And I was like, I just felt so validated in just my weirdness, that I was like entertaining him and he enjoyed it, Things I've learned from being with an introvert is to try to process a little bit more, slow down a little bit more, and I think really just see people differently because I've learned, about those things. And he even tells me that like he's come out of his shell a little bit more since he's been with me. And I just think people just want to be validated and not feel like they're crazy or weird,
So the best way to describe how my energy levels operate is if you have a certain number, say you have like 5, I guess I'm going to use an analogy I've heard for mental illness. You have 5 spoons throughout the day, and you can only have 5 spoons. You can't gain more, you can't gain less. And so for me, the spoons are my energy level. So if I was here by myself reading a book, I'd keep my spoons all day. But going to work, I automatically lose a spoon because I have to deal with people. And then I have 4 spoons left. And so then it comes down to if I go out to lunch somewhere, that's going to take 2 of my spoons because it's more people. And then I only have, 2 spoons left. Well, if somebody asked me to go to a party that evening, I don't have the energy to do that because I only have 2 spoons and that would take 4 spoons. So if I were to go to a party and I only had 5 spoons, then I would stay home all day and then just reserve all my energy for that. Like I don't gain any of my spoons, if you will, back until like I'm by myself, relaxing, decompressing. Whereas an extrovert, they may start with 1 spoon in the mornings and then gain their spoons, like, going to work, they get 2 more spoons because they're interacting. Going to a party, they're maxed out on their energy level. Whereas mine, it slowly fades throughout the day the more interactions I have.
I think generally people gravitate towards extroverts. We're gregarious and we're the life of the party, but that doesn't always mean really anything. I think a lot of people gravitate towards those people and maybe listen to us more when really we're not even thinking about what we're saying. So if you listen to the introvert, he's thought things through, Doesn't mean that extroverts don't have good ideas, but we just probably have a lot of ideas.
So our society is more dominated by the extroverted culture, for sure. Just by definition of extroversion, they're out engaging with people and doing activities more. But introverts, there's lots of misconceptions about them, and they are just as capable individuals, just as social, just as warm, right? Can be, but they do prefer to engage in the internal world of thought and reflection. And so while they like being social oftentimes and like interacting, their battery kind of runs low in that area quicker during the day than an extrovert would. So they just need to pull away and have some time alone just to think. They like to think, they like to reflect. Sometimes they're thinking about what they're feeling. Sometimes they're thinking about what makes sense. Sometimes they're remembering the past or planning towards the future, but they like to pull in and have that time alone. It recharges the battery so they can re-engage with people after that. So oftentimes in a workplace, they may have the offices and the cubicles like open where everybody can have like an open working environment. Well, that's very frustrating to an introvert who an interruption to them is different. It's not a fueling, charging thing. Okay. Where extroverts often it's like, oh, hey, people who like it kind of jazzes them to have an interruption. But for an introvert, like no, they're processing in their mind. They've got things they're working on in an interruption. It's like it's breaking the conversation. that they're having with themselves in their head, and it's irritating, quite honestly. And they like to have a more an alone office with a door that they can close. That's and so even from the work environment and in the offices affects that as well.
So one of the things I think is a common misconception about introverts is that introverts aren't friendly or don't want to be social. And I can't speak for every introvert because every introvert's different, but I do want to be social. And so one of the things that I worry about on a frequent basis at my office is that because I don't leave my office and socialize with everybody constantly, I worry that they think I don't like them or I don't want to associate with them, when in reality, it's just sometimes it's easier to stay in my office than to put myself out there. And I think speaking on an introvert level, that's true of everything. I worry with my anxiety that my introvert is coming off as resting bitch face, or as that person's not friendly, or that person is a snob, or that person is very uppity, or they think they're better than everybody else, which for me is incredibly hurtful because I listen to everything everyone says as an introvert, and I care more about what is being said to me or around me than what I have to say. And so I think when you're an extrovert dealing with an introvert, you just have to keep in mind that maybe they're not speaking a whole lot, or maybe they're not offering to go do things, but that doesn't mean they don't want you to interact with them or to offer. Like for our friend group, for example, I don't make a lot of the plans. I let everybody else make the plans. That doesn't mean I don't want to do it. It's just, it's easier. I'm like, well, I don't know if they want to hang out, or I don't know if they want to be around me. And as an introvert that has the high anxiety levels that I do, one of the common misconceptions is I don't want to have friends, when in reality, I worry that, do people want to be friends with me?
I have a lot of relationships. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people that I'm close to, that I care deeply about. I really want to get to know people. I want to get to know their families and what they like, and I genuinely really enjoy being around people and having relationships. However, I have a lot of relationships. I enjoy them. I enjoy the quantity of my relationships. With that being said, the quality of the relationships aren't, I would say, probably as deep as maybe an introvert. I have very, very good friends. I have very, very good friends. And I guess I just have one person. That's my Abby, and I just have that one person that I can call, and she knows what I'm thinking and feeling.
If extroverts keep in mind that introverts aren't necessarily not social, they don't know how to reach out, it might be easier for them to reach out. And then I think if introverts keep in mind that extroverts don't maybe understand how you can't just go up to somebody and hug them, or say, hi, my name's Stacy, or my name's Allison, they can think, well, maybe I can go out there and do that. Just because they're not looking at me that way doesn't mean they don't want to be around me. They just don't understand.
There are many situations that I find myself in as an extrovert that make me uncomfortable, that still give me anxiety. I mean, I think that we wouldn't be human, or we wouldn't, if I went into a room and I knew that I had to meet people or mingle and I didn't know anybody, I'm still like, oh my God, I don't know anybody in this room. This makes me anxious. Even though I am an extrovert and I'm a people person and I can just talk to anybody, the thought of doing that makes me anxious. And so I don't know, if I knew no one, if I was like going somewhere and there's a whole room of people I didn't know, that would be awful. And I cannot imagine what that would feel like for an introvert. I don't even know if I'm ready to go. Just feel like, nope, peace out, I'm not going,
Because I think it's very hard for an introvert to understand an extrovert, and I think it's maybe even more difficult for an extrovert to understand an introvert, because introverts kind of innately know when they need time around people and when they need time away. And extroverts, I don't think, grasp that concept. So one of my friends is an extrovert, and if I need time to myself, or I just need to be alone, or I just need to think, and I say, no, sorry, I don't want to do that, or I'm not interested in that, they think that I'm upset or it's hurtful, when in reality it's just I need that time to recharge, I need that time to process. And I think it's hard for extroverts because they're okay when they're around everybody. They're like, no, this is great, this is how I feel better. And introverts are like, okay, it's great to be around people, but I also need my time, I need my space, I need a day off from this. And so I think just kind of, if I can give that advice to both extroverts and introverts, it would be very helpful of just keep in mind that just because somebody's not putting themselves out there doesn't mean they don't want to be out there, and that if somebody is pulling away, it's not necessarily because you've done something or you've upset them, it's that they need to recharge. Because that is a very common misconception of, hey, I don't want to do something. Well, what's wrong with them? Are they sad? Are they upset? Like, are they depressed? Do they need help? Like, let's talk to them more. Like, I'll come over and comfort. And it's like, no, I'm not depressed. I'm not sad. I need that time to myself. I need to read a book. I need to be in my house alone just to recharge. So I think if both sides understand that, I think it's going to help in the long run, both of them kind of communicate better, because I think there is a bit of a communication issue between the two because we don't really know how to communicate.
This type of space like energizes me so much. Like, I love it, I'm excited, I want to run around, and like there's people and I'm watching and they're excited and I just get so much energy from this. So do you get the same feeling from being in here? No. Not at all. How long would you have to be here for this to kind of drain you? I think now. Seriously? No. Really? Yes.
So not only is this like a bunch of people, but this is a whole new atmosphere. So I haven't been on a trampoline probably in 5 years. So the whole bouncing across here thing, yeah. Really? I mean, I'm sure if I came back here it'd be fun, or if I had, some of my close friends, but right now it's just very like, oh, here's a trampoline. We're bouncing now. All right.
Here's something about me, is I'm the annoying person that like pressures the introvert to do something they don't want to do. Like, I got you on camera and I'm like, do it! It makes me think about if they really just don't want to do it. It's not that they're not having fun, because you may just be you may be happier, obviously, just standing there.
Yeah, I mean, this is fun.
But if I'm going, do a cartwheel, it'll be great!
That's when it gets not fun.
Right.
And that's where I think miscommunication of, if you understood introverts, you'd be like, okay, I'm making it worse for them.
Right.
They're having fun. And introverts need to understand that when we're just kind of standing here perfectly happy, you're looking at us, oh my God, that person's not having fun.
Right.
What can I do to make them have fun?
Oh my God, I do this to my husband. I need to rethink a lot of stuff.
In society, it's about 50-50 extroverts and introverts, but it may not seem that way because extroverts tend to engage in the environment more, speak up more, talk louder, talk more, so they are going to have a little bit more of a dominant presence. So the overall understanding of introverts based on extroverts is what is going to be prevalent, but they're extroverts, so they don't necessarily understand introversion, right?
Right.
So it was really helpful for me to understand that introversion simply means that I am energized by reflecting and thinking. It's the internal world of thought and reflection. And even when I process my ideas, I'm going to prefer as an introvert to process them inwardly, which may mean there's a little extra pause before I answer a question. Because I have to think, right? It doesn't mean I'm less intelligent.
Right.
It doesn't mean that I didn't
you're
understand
shy.
your question.
It
Or
doesn't
that
mean
I'm
that you're shy.
Right. And I think the understanding can go both ways. So I think introverts, it's helpful for them to understand that extroverts don't necessarily know how to interpret their silence or their pause. And they do wonder, did you understand what I said? Did I just offend you by what I said? Maybe you don't care about what we're talking about. So I often encourage introverts, speak up and say, hey, that's an interesting question. I definitely want to talk about that. I'd like to process that for a little bit. Can we get back together maybe tomorrow for lunch and chat? Or, if it's a bigger topic. Or if it's just in a casual conversation, just say, okay, yeah, let me think about that for a second. And then answer. So the extrovert knows what you're doing.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm already thinking that you hate me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or that I'm
And they don't.
so
It's not that
stupid
at all.
and I said the dumbest thing and really, because I need a response. Because that's how I'm ready to go.
Yes.
Because if I was with an extrovert, we'd be just bop, 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 bop,
That's
bop,
right.
bop, bop.
Extroverts like to process their thoughts out loud.
Yeah.
So they start talking and it's not clear to them yet. It hasn't untangled yet, right? And they're not at their conclusion. They like to talk it out to figure it out.
Yeah.
Whereas an introvert, they like to think it through to figure it out and then share. And they're typically closer to their conclusion once they share.
So do you find it easier or like a better match when you have an introvert and an extrovert and kind of working together, maybe in a marriage or in a workspace?
You know, it can really work well, any of those combinations. So 2 introverts, 2 extroverts, introvert and extrovert.
Really?
As long as they're understanding.
Okay.
As long as they know what that is and how to work well together, it really can work either way. Now, as you can imagine, 2 introverts may struggle with both of them keeping their thoughts inside and not remembering, okay, I got to say this out loud for good communication. 2 extroverts could be talking over each other, right? Mm-hmm. And an introvert and extrovert, the extrovert could possibly dominate the interaction. So it could be a challenge for any of those combinations, but it also could work well and create a great dynamic as long as there is that awareness.
Right. And I'm saying, like, what do you think about this? Instead of me just being like bulldozing the whole situation.
What do you think about this? And then with your body language, let them know, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to sit back. And I'm not going to stare at you while you're thinking. Like, I might just look around, you know. Like, give me a chance to think.
I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'm going to take a couple drinks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, is this a place that you would typically go to relax?
Yeah, I mean, in college, this was kind of my go-to for studying, actually. I would come out here at night and I'd take a blanket out down there and put a blanket down and study down here because it's kind of the quiet area after the library had closed. And I'll bring my dogs here and walk to relax, or I'll just come and kind of sit on the benches and take everything in. And it's kind of very relaxing for me, which I don't think it's very relaxing for you.
No, it's not. Like, honestly, if I could come and clear my head and sit down on a bench, and after probably 2 or 3 minutes, I would be done. I'd be ready. Like, that's all I don't need very long. But
you just need a little bit.
I just need just the tiniest little bit.
Breather.
And then I'm ready to go again. But for me to sit here for more than 5 minutes would be
too much.
It would be too much.
Too much.
Because I want to be with somebody.
Right. You want to be talking to
sit
somebody.
with me.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we're not talking and we're just together.
It's the fact that you have somebody there with you.
And that I like that. Like, even if we're not talking, but I have somebody with me. I just don't want to be. I just don't enjoy it. It's not that I'm codependent. I really just don't enjoy it.
Right. It's not fun for you to just sit by yourself and be alone.
Could you sit here for a while?
I mean, sitting right here, I could probably be here for an hour. Oh my God. Yeah. Now, after an hour, I'd probably be like, okay, I need to go do something now.
Yeah.
Like, I've wasted an hour. But yeah, I could easily just sit here an hour.
What would you do?
Well, I mean, I like watching the river or people driving by, or I'd bring a book and read a book. If I had a book, I probably could be here all day. This is kind of where I can relax in the quiet. What do you do to relax?
Oh, man. This really has nothing to do with the amount of kids that I have or the job that I have. I've always been somebody that just continues to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was just God-given with a lot of energy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much this has to do with being an extrovert, but I just go until I kind of hit a wall. And then my body kind of tells me to relax. Like, mm-hmm. I'm almost like I need to like lay down, you know? But I typically don't take a lot of time to relax. I think activities like clear my head. Mm-hmm. Like working out like clears my head. Like I've taken yoga before and I was like, my head might just pop off. Like, I don't think I can do this. And at the end they were like, get into your most comfortable state. And people were like, you know, going into these poses. And I was like, jumping jacks. Like, that's my comfortable state.
That's what I need to do.
That's where I want to be right now. But it's not, you know, it's who I am. And I think that there's a really
great place for both of us in this world. You know, like we complement each other really well.
To relax, I don't feel like you need to be stationary or quiet or anything else. It's a matter of where are you comfortable in your brain. So I mean, if you're comfortable working out and that's what clears your head, I think it's great that somebody does that. I think it's when people don't take any time to figure out what at least will calm them that it's a problem. Like it doesn't matter whether you're stationary or you're moving, as long as you're doing something for your mental health. That's all that really matters.
Absolutely.
I don't typically blurt anything out. Like if there's pauses here in the interview, it's because I have to sit and listen and really think about it and then talk about it. Because for me, I don't like to talk as much as extroverts typically do. So what I need to say is something that I feel is necessary to say and is very well thought out and to the point. Whereas extroverts, I kind of envy them because they can just go and speak and then, oh, I didn't really mean it that way or this way, but they got their point out there. Whereas I have to, you know, if somebody asks me a question, like, what's your favorite color? I can't just blurt the color out. I have to think, well, what is my favorite color today? And why is it that color? And go from there.
What's your favorite color?
Favorite color today is green.
Support for this program is provided by
The Women's Hospital delivers comprehensive health care to women and infants through inpatient and outpatient obstetrical, gynecologic, and education programs. The Women's Hospital, only at Deaconess.